What's up, YouTube family? This is Sam from the B Bunch family, and welcome back to my channel. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Sam, and I provide some advice on how to survive the teaching profession. Some helpful hints, if anything, that could be used in the classroom, outside in the professional development world, and much more. I'm joined by my special guest, my daughter Anna, who has, after just having her next to last bottle, she really wants to stay because she's really enjoying the camera. Otherwise, I would just put her away to go do her thing. So if you see her, you can say hello. You might see me look down from time to time. So one thing, today I wanted to talk specifically about, I want to say regrets or lessons learned in my first year of teaching. And I'm going to make this short as possible. We're gonna do top six. Kevin Hart always says shoot for 1 over, so I'm gonna go for 6 this time around. So 6 lessons and or regrets I have from my first year teaching that I have carried with me every single day since then. So one regret, and this is not in any order of severity or anything like that. No, this is just general lessons learned from poor decision or lack of decisions because I didn't have the knowledge or I didn't sit down to think about it. One lesson learned I definitely picked up after my first year is contribute to your pension the most possible and the most that you can afford. And by pension, I mean not just the one that they already deduct. I think there's a tax deferred one. Contribute as much as you can afford, because not only, yes, you lose a little bit of money in the short term in terms of what you bring home, but what you bring back on your tax refund is a lot more. And yes, it seems like, but then I could be using that money in that moment. Yes, that is true. You could be using that money in that moment, and like I said, it's only what you can afford. However, if the gains and the compound interest is a lot more, then it kind of defeats the purpose. You might as well just do it that way. Definitely contribute to your pension, your tax deferred ones, as much as possible, and fool around with it. Invest in different sections, diversify your portfolio as much as possible. That's definitely a plus. I never thought about that. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I just walked away, and then I really didn't think about it till a year and a half later. I'm like, and then a couple of teachers they invited me to some workshop. I'm like, that's how that works. So there's that nugget for you. So a second lesson that I learned definitely was, or actually one regret I have, and the lesson I picked up from that was boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries was definitely not my thing, Yeah. Boundaries, I never really, boundaries never really was my thing. I always used to be the type to okay, I'll do it. Sam, can you do it? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. And I would just take on the work without thinking twice about it. I'm helping someone out, they need me for something. But what tends to happen is that as you take on that extra work and you become dependable, right? As far as I'm aware, we've been raised to know that dependable is a really positive trait, and in some ways it is. But in this unfortunate field, can you do this? Can you do this? It's gonna the work keeps piling on. Can you do this? What about this? Here, more. So the faster you finish your work earlier with enough time spare, the more work you are going to get because you can do it. And that's why you need to put boundaries in place. Respectfully say, hey, no, I can't do it. I have my own thing right now, but maybe check in with me in a couple weeks. Or maybe go as far to say, I have some other things to take care of. Have you tried asking this person instead? It's not just about deferring responsibility. It's about being realistic about what you can handle and being respectful of your time, which technically leads into 3, but being respectful of your time, because your time is your most valuable asset. Besides income, time is what you have, and the more time you spend on things that are not about you and your main priorities, right, those goals get further out because now you're furthering someone else's, and you have to really find that balance of where you want to go. You know, there's a difference between helping someone on occasion because it's better to work as a team. However, if they just take the you give people an inch, they take a mile, then the work is going to get shoveled onto you, and then when you can't for some reason keep up, then it's going to create some friction between you and whoever that might be. And this doesn't have to be a supervisor. This can literally be as simple as another colleague who, it doesn't even matter. And yes, I get being kind-hearted, but you do have to put some boundaries at least in place in some respects. You do have to do that. So I kind of mentioned number 3 already. Time is your most valuable asset. So definitely consider that as one of them. Number 4 is, how can I put this? Okay. So normally I wouldn't recommend this. Actually, I lied. I tell this all the time to anybody who's new to teaching, or or who's relatively new and has contemplated that idea in their head about working summer school. Don't do it. Point blank. The lure will be money. Yes, the lure is money. Yes, 100% the lure is money. On top of your salary, you get an overtime check, and it's paid by whatever the rate is, and it's a separate check. Yes, the money is most likely wonderful. However, summer school is one of the hardest times of the year because not only are you going in after June to do summer school, that's only like a couple weeks after July 4th. It's usually after the July 4th weekend, that Monday or Tuesday, you start summer school. Not only are you only have 2 weeks off, but now you're dealing with students who weren't there in the first place, in the school year in the first place. So now you're dealing with students who never wanted to be there for absence issues. There could be behavior problems. But putting all that aside, because students have their own thing at home, so that's probably why. And, not everybody ends up summer school for the same reason. But it's also, if we thought the teacher shortage was bad on a regular, and then it just fell down a pit hole during the pandemic, it's really bad during the summer, like on all ends of the earth, because when you talk about skeleton crew, it's a skeleton crew, and a skeleton crew to keep the doors open, and on top of that, you have to deal with student, like I said, making copies and things like that. It becomes a lot. And then if you're in high school, like I am, you have to prepare them for a Regents in a month. And then that could be another layer of added stress that you don't need, So is the money good? Yes. Is it worth it? You have to think about your mental health in that respect. You have to really think about that. Otherwise, it leads to burnout really, really quickly. And I know some teachers who have said it's wonderful because of that, but they kind of regretted doing it because they never got that time to recharge for themselves. You're getting 2 or 3 weeks at the tail end of it. You get if you're in high school, I don't know about middle or elementary, but what I do know for high school is that there is the Regents Week in August. I think it's the last time I saw it on the calendar it was the second or the second to last week. So after the first 2 weeks of August, there's Regents Week, and then and then there's scoring. So you really only got about 4 weeks total, 2 weeks in the beginning and then 2 weeks at the end. And then if your brain cannot reset, that leads to a problem, because now you're just diving right through and then going into September, and then more is you're not giving your mind some time to pull back, take it easy, and especially always, that's why I recommend always take your first summer off, and then after you've realized felt how you felt, then you can consider summer school. Now, I'm not saying summer school is always that bad. Some people don't necessarily have a complaint in the world because some people don't have a skeleton crew. But even if there is still a skeleton crew, programming can be different. But usually you don't find out about programming till if you sign up and you walk through the door for the first time. So you're walking into a really big pit of unknowns. So the programming can literally be from the ideal, from what I've heard, is 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. to like 11, 12 tops, and then you go home. So you basically only work half a day, which is pretty good. You know, that's fine. And you only get maybe like a class or two tops. But, and in that particular person who I'm talking about, they didn't have any students. They maybe had like one. So they basically they were planning, but they were, you know, they could only teach so much because only one student showed up. So they would do their best to help them out, just to prepare for that Regents. So that's something to consider. So that was number 4. Then we have number 5, right? Yeah, I believe, yeah, number 5. So one regret that I have, and the lesson I learned out of it, was definitely not only not having boundaries, but also basically speaking up for myself. You know, it was really hard. You know, I'm trying to unlearn a lot of things growing up. You know, keep your nose to the ground, keep your nose to the grindstone, and just move forward, and, you know, just tune out all the rest. However, when certain things are happening within your building, and it, you know, it indirectly affects you because of the way people are perceiving, then it can become an issue. Unfortunately, you know, optics are a lot, and even though the intentions are true for someone, yes, and you have to know someone by their intent, you have to really know someone. But if you don't know them, then what can literally happen is the whole actions speak louder than words. You know, racism could be, you know, perceived, favoritism, which is rampant, by the way, yeah, and, you know, it causes a lot of big no-nos that you kind of like, I don't really want to take this, you know. So one regret I definitely do have is, you know, not speaking up earlier and basically putting my foot down, because if at the end of the day they want to get rid of you for whatever reason, they still can, you know. And even if you have tenure, that does not mean anything. They can literally make your life, you know, the 7 rings of fire, and still keep going. So you might want to, you know, like, put your foot down, be respectful about it, be politically correct about it, but make sure, like, you do speak up about it. You know, it's something that people can't be left to get away with. So that's definitely one to watch. Number 6. Oh, we made it to number 6. Look at that. Number 6, I would have to argue, let's say, is making sure that you and your colleague have open and honest communication. You know, having communication is very key, you know, like being explicit, you know, because remember, just because you're colleagues doesn't mean you're friends. And I happen to be friends with some of mine, so that actually kind of worked out. But just because you're colleagues and you happen to work in close proximity to one another, it does not mean you have to be friends. But what it does mean is that you get to have a level of understanding, and you get to try and be close knit with someone if possible, you know. So have open communication, be very explicit in what you're saying. Watch what you say, because like I said, you may not be friends. So because you may not be friends, you have to be very explicit in what you mean, and watch. And if you have any internal bias that you feel cannot be undone for whatever reason, then, you know, it's something to consider. You know, you do have to watch that. And I guess the last thing I will mention is definitely one lesson that I definitely learned is get your supplies early, like really early. And I'm not talking about, you know, your teacher's choice money or you know, no, and not the federal deduction. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the supplies. Like, if you can secure your supplies for the school year I have a schedule. If you can talk to the supply person, or if you could, if you could talk to the principal, like, I need this supplies by this time, can you do it? And a lot of the time, in my experience, let me be clear, in my experience, they've been very receptive. I had one principal where he literally spoke to me on the one-on-one. He said, whatever supplies you need for science, you let me know, and I will put in the, make sure the order gets done. Tell me all the supplies you'll need in June. I'll have it here by August or July, and it'll be stored in the closet for you. So, that's very rare to have. And then I've had the opposite side of the spectrum, not complete. Well, I've had all of it, right? Then I had the middle spectrum where they just say, oh, just have your supply stuff ready. And then the first day, give us a list, and we'll make sure it gets delivered to your office space, wherever that might be. Or then the latter end of the spectrum, which is like, hey, I need these supplies. November comes up, hey, I never got those supplies. So it's something to consider. Okay. Other than that, I think that's it, for me. When you get those supplies, get them early, shop DOE, whatever you need to do, talk to someone, try to get them as early as possible. That's it for me, folks. So this is Sam from the Bee Bunch family. From my channel, I'm changing some stuff around because I know you haven't heard from me for a little bit. I've been getting some feedback, and I'm tweaking some of the content right now. So if I didn't post last week, you should see some of it now this week, and you'll see a slightly tweaked intro with some new names and content coming to you soon. If you're interested in family vlogs, marriage, infertility, or anything related to, like I said, or dating, anything like that, my wife and I and our daughter have a YouTube channel called The Bee Bunch Family. You see it in the description down below, and also in the card that I insert right up above. Please like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Anything, any feedback you have is feedback. We're really grateful for all the positivity we're getting, and all the views that people are starting to spread. It really, really helps. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all that you do, and we're out.